Got it.
You may not know this, but 1 in 4 people in New Zealand live with some sort of disability. And this week's guest knows more about this subject than anyone. At 18, Talitha was diagnosed with a neuromuscular disease. And in this week's show, she goes on to tell all about her story, about her life in New Zealand. She is super inspiring, very, very giving, so generous. You are going to love this lady. So let's jump on into the show and meet Talitha.
Got it.
Welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. Everything you need to know about moving to and living in New Zealand.
There's a whole world here.
So nice to be with you again.
We call it Aotearoa around here, bro.
You'll be right.
We are your hosts, Liz and Brian.
Amazing New Zealand in the southern seas.
See, that's where I belong. That's home.
Talitha, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you on here and finally get to chat to you.
Thank you, Liz. It's exciting to be here. Wow. What a privilege to meet you and to be here.
Oh, no, the privilege is all mine. And I'll tell you why, because for those people who don't know, and why would you know this? Because you're not psychic, but I met Talitha through on the interweb. We met each other. Talitha reached out to me. I think it was about a year ago, wasn't it? Just about a year ago. And you reached out to say hi and that you love the content and that you're a Kiwi and you were just there to support me. And I am not joking. I mean, what we're going to be talking about is disabilities in New Zealand. But before we start this conversation, I want to make it clear that I reckon that you are the kindest person in New Zealand. And I just want to say that. I want to say that because you have given me so much support in everything that I've ever done. You constantly are there. You send me little messages of smiley, lovely messages. And I just want to say, to be speaking to you now on this Zoom call, it feels great for me. So I just want you to know how appreciative I am of you.
Thank you, Liz. When watching your podcast, when watching you and Brian and your interactions, and I've followed you right throughout the world basically now, and I absolutely just love what you do and how you do it, and your interaction with each other, and your comedy, your personality, your rawness, your emotion, you're just plain humanity. And then of course you've said if anybody wants to just say hi, then just say hi, and I'm like, okay, I'll say hi. So yes. I said hi, and
yes,
I listen to it, and I sit there and I just laugh, and I feel the emotions. I laugh and I'm sad, and I can just place myself in those situations, and I just really enjoy it. So thank you for being you and what you do.
And thank you for being you. And what I didn't know about you is that you are living with a disability in New Zealand. And when we got chatting, and you very kindly offered, look, how would you feel about me coming on the show and just chatting about the disability and what it's like to live with a disability in New Zealand? I could not believe my luck. So I was like, not only have I got this lovely person, but you've got some great value, and just, that we can just share and help people living with disabilities in New Zealand. So could you please just jump on in and tell me about yourself and who you are, and just go for it. I'll sit back and listen.
100%. My name is Talitha. I live in the mid-central region, so in the Talitha area, and 27 years ago, at the birth of my son, so 27, almost 28 years ago, when he was 2 weeks old, I experienced a numbing of the top lip. But no, not only a numbing, but that was at 7 months pregnant that I experienced the numbing. At 2 weeks old, when my son was 2 weeks old, I was talking to a friend of mine, and my mouth and I completely lost my words. I completely lost my ability to talk. And I just started slurring, and then I couldn't keep my eyes open, and it just happened like that. It happened really quite quickly. And the lady, I mean, talk about awkward silence. The lady was sitting there, and we were talking about, this miraculous, lovely, horrible birth, and this incredible little baby, and how wonderful it is, and how interesting it all is. And then it's like dead silent. Anyway, so I didn't know what was happening, and so I waited until my midwife saw me again, and then I explained to her, and she got the ball rolling. She had seen it before, and it happens to 1 in 100,000 people. So I didn't know. I was 18. I'd only just turned 18. So yeah, it was scary, and yeah. So that was a long time ago.
Yep.
And I did end up having to, well, I went overseas, and I got formally diagnosed in Holland with myasthenia gravis. And yeah, and I came back to New Zealand, went to ICU. Yeah, I mean, that's not telling you who I am right now. So
No, that is.
but
Yeah.
okay, all right. That is, but it all started back then. I think who I am today, it started then, because I remember sitting in ICU, and I didn't have my baby with me, because I went from fully breastfeeding to not seeing my baby at all, because I got flown home from insurance, and put at the airport, and got told to go home, and they will be in contact with me. And so I went home, and they got in contact with me. I went to Wellington. I was living in Motueka at that point, so down in Golden Bay. And they didn't realize the severity, I don't think, at what I was at that point, at which I couldn't eat, and I hadn't been able to eat for months. I was living on Complan, because it was the only thing, like that liquid food.
Yeah.
Because it was the only thing I could eat, because otherwise it would either come out my nose or I would choke on it. And it's a great party trick. And I, the never-ending meal. And so I went to Wellington, and I was sitting in ICU. Well, no, laying in ICU on, with things all over me. And I remember my friends and my family were coming in, because the doctor had told them, and had told me, that if I died, basically they couldn't save me, and I was to get my affairs in order. I don't know what affairs I had at 18, but and so everybody would come in, they would sit by my bed, and I was on oxygen, and they were like, they just sit down and just start crying, and I would be like, it's okay. And at that moment, I thought, if I make it out of here alive, I'll do something with my life. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. But if I get out of here well, then you can't stop me. And that's where it started. And I have grasped every inch of life that I can. I subsequently had another child, because the doctor said, you can't have any more children, you are too sick. I had all my hair falling out, I had everything, my bone density, everything was falling to bits. And I said, it was literally just after they took out my thymus gland, which is next to my heart, and so they do open chest surgery, and they which is part of your immune system, which is part of the condition. And they and they said, oh, well, you're in here with pneumonia, you are breathing on half a lung, we need to change your medication. And I said, I want to have another baby. And they said, you don't have time. I'm like, yeah, I do. So, this is the way that I'm going. Long story short, I ended up having another baby, and immediately, straight away, well, not that day, but I I went away and I got pregnant straight away, and I came back and I ended up having the opportunity to change. That was the end of my breeding career. So I had my two children, at which I raised on my own and with a condition. And yeah, it was incredibly hard. And I did my best, but I always looked to where I wanted and what I wanted in life, and that was happiness and freedom, and not to ever let my disability stop me, because my disability was part of my body. It wasn't part of who I am as a person. So I never let that stop me, and never let that define who I was. At which point in 2012, so go a few years later,
hang on. I want to clarify something. I'm just going to jump in here and clarify something.
Go.
First of all, I need to say you are just so, I have never met anyone like you before, because you've got this disability, but you have this habit of just laughing at yourself constantly and making fun of yourself. And it's quite discerning when you're sitting here thinking, oh no, like this is really serious. And there's you going, oh yeah, and everyone was at the side of my bed when I was dying, and blah, 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 blah. So the first thing I want to say is I love your sense of humor. You are my kind of girl. I love it. You bring light. I love your energy, Talitha. So I just want to say that. And so I've got it clear in my head. Were you born in New Zealand?
I was born in New Zealand.
Right.
My parents immigrated from the Netherlands.
Right.
And my dad was a scientist, and him and mum married. She was 7 months pregnant and came over to New Zealand. And I don't know how they did it, really. Watching one of your last podcasts talk about a person who immigrated coming over, I was listening to that thinking, oh, they didn't speak English. My dad didn't speak English. My mum spoke a little bit of English, just what she learned at school. She was pregnant. She didn't know anyone. How did
difficult.
They lived in Lauder, which is basically two people made up of them. And it's just, I really admire people who come over and really uproot their life and their social circle and come over to another place that they have hopes and dreams of creating a new life in. And yeah, I mean, how precious is that?
It is. It's absolutely admirable. I feel the same. It's like you hear these stories and you realize, wow, I thought I had it bad and I was speaking English and all the rest of it. Like you say, you come over from a foreign country and start again, no internet, no this, no that, no communication. It must have been tough. So here you are, you're born in New Zealand, you get to be 18, you fall pregnant with your son, and you have this terrible experience when he's 2 weeks old that you suddenly realize things aren't right. Facial paralysis and
full body paralysis.
Paralysis.
I couldn't move my hands. I was changing nappies like that. My whole face was down. I couldn't open my eyes. I was driving like this just to hold my eyelids up, and probably shouldn't have, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was something that I didn't know, and there was not the information out there that I internet was still dial-up. So there wasn't the information on the internet that you actually needed to be useful. So in 2012, I made a commitment after trying to find a support group for my condition, and I couldn't find one. I asked around the place and I couldn't find one. It was suggested by somebody that if I wanted one, why didn't I start one myself? So I did, and I put myself out there quite publicly, and little by little, subsequently for the last 10, 11 years, I've been building up a network around New Zealand of people who need support with the onset and the diagnosis and the ongoing life challenges of myasthenia gravis. And that is, some people just come in and want to know a little bit of information, and I will give them as much as I know, as much as I've prepared. I've got some branded gear, I've got some bits and pieces, I've got a book of little bits and pieces that I've put together. I've written a children's book for children to understand what's happening with their parent. And it really is just a guideline to what I would have wanted at that stage. So they can get their families and friends together and say, here, this is what it is. And now as a family unit, what are we going to do? And then, yep.
Go on.
And then they may not ever come back to me for anything else, which is absolutely fine. But it just gives them a kickstart to say, here is something, you're not alone.
Right. So I want to come back to that in a minute, the fact that you're doing this as a business, but still I'm interested in your story. So you come back to New Zealand, you went over to see your family, I assume. You came back to New Zealand. You were diagnosed with, I'm going to try and say it right, Myasthenia Gravis.
Yep.
So a neuromuscular disease. Is that a common disease in New Zealand, in the world? How many people have got this disease?
In New Zealand, statistically, it's still 1 in 100,000. In other countries, because it's a little bit more well known in some areas, it can be up to 14 to 20 in 100,000, but it is still classified as very, very rare.
Right. Okay, so it's a very rare disease. So you've got no support, you've got no information, there's no internet, there's no groups. From when you were diagnosed, first of all, let me just ask, I need to know this. How do you treat this disease? What happens so you don't die? What do they do to keep you alive? And what, I don't mean, but you are living a normal life and you're a very normal, vibrant, alive lady. How are you doing that?
I'm very medicated.
Right.
I take and every now and then, every now and then, every few years or a little bit more often lately, you have a relapse, and there's no telling what will trigger it. It might be extra stress, it might be anything, it might be just what your body wants to do that time, and it goes into a full relapse, and then I have to go into hospital and receive life-saving immunoglobulin, which is the pure protein out of the immunity that people give when they donate plasma.
Right.
And there can be in one 200 ml bottle that I get 3 of in any sitting, or 3.5 or 4 or whatever in any sitting, and I have 5 of those per day. 5 3 bottles. In one of those bottles, which is 200 mils, there can be anywhere up to 1,500 blood donations. So it's incredible.
Yes, it is.
It's insane.
Oh, thank you to the people that donate blood. Thank you. We love you. Thank you.
So it is because of them I'm sitting here, basically, that they have saved my life.
Incredible.
Over and over again. Many, many times.
So I want to jump in a minute. Yes. I want to jump in because I can see that you just want to jump into the life in New Zealand with disabilities, but I'm still very interested in your story, and just you're an incredibly inspiring woman. And I can tell that you're your typical Kiwi. You're like, oh no, that's nothing. I'm just doing what I was here to do, but I'm not letting this go, Talitha. incredibly inspiring woman. And so you are there and you're laying there and you think, when I get out of here one day, when I'm in a position to be able to do so, I'm going to go on and I'm going to help other people in New Zealand with this disability. Is that right?
Correct. That came over time when I was in the hospital. I got to meet subsequently over the time of hospital stays and stuff. You get admitted into hospital again and again and again and again. And of course it's so rare that the nurses came in and they were like, oh, we had somebody else with MG here now. So they would put you in the same room together. And they were like, oh, well, you guys can meet, and it was quite cute. But I found that a lot of people, and I did get to go when I went over to the UK, I went and I met other people with the same condition, but I felt that there was a lot of negativity around the condition's description and the way that people would verbalize their experience of having the condition. And to me, I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist. And I always say, so what good about it? What can we learn from this experience? And that framed my transition into forming this group, into not a woe is me, but okay, so I have this condition, but it doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define how my brain thinks about life and what I can contribute towards life. So I have challenges now in life that I need to pace myself. I need to be medicated. I need to have help. I need to have things around me. I have a scooter that I use when my legs don't work. But that doesn't stop me getting out. I mean, we come to present day. I live my dream life, my dream job. I work in this area. I've created MGNZ, which I don't get money for that. I pay that. I pay for everything that I do in that. Anybody who has donated towards that, it goes 100% into supporting other people with it. And that is my commitment, is I have something, I have an experience, I have a life of this, and I have been in the situation where I did not know what was going on and scared. Yeah. I didn't have but by that stage my mother had gone back to the Netherlands, and I didn't have family or anybody around that I could really talk to about this and be actively supportive. So I became my own advocate, but in an empowering way. I didn't want to cause negativity on it, because that negativity spirals into more negativity, and I don't want that in my life. I don't have the time or the energy to put into negativity.
Yeah.
So
it shows so much. Like I say, it radiates from you, absolutely, and it's contagious. And so I can't think of anyone better that if I was diagnosed with this condition, I would want you, who I was calling up or going on your website or having visits from or whatever, to be I can't think of anything better. I really can't.
That's what it's for. I mean, I'm there all the time. I'm there for anybody who has that. But I mean, it doesn't just stop there, because in my normal, I mean, that's my life commitment for that.
So is that your job? Is that what you're doing as a job now? Right. What do you do as a job?
I work as a field worker for the Muscular Dystrophy Association that entitles 70 conditions under their umbrella. So, and one of them is mine. So I get the opportunity to talk to people with a range of experiences of different disabilities, and I talk to them as a member of the muscular dystrophy as well as a field worker, and I can offer them support and advocacy and understanding of lived experience.
What does a field worker do? What does your daily, what would you do in your job? What is that? What would you do?
I would go and visit people in their homes or anywhere really, and go and I've got an area in the country that I'm responsible for, and that is if somebody is diagnosed with one of these conditions, I'll go in and I will go and sit with them and talk to them and try and help them with anything that they require. I mean, the scope is massive. It just depends on where they are and what they're doing and what their dreams are and where they see themselves. So, and I try and help with that any way we can. So,
are you like a counsellor, or do you do like, because I remember you saying to me that you sometimes take people to the shops and get their groceries with them. So is it like a carer?
No, it's not a carer. I do things like that if that's not within my job description to do that, but I will do that if that's the way that they want to talk. If that's what will help them talk and open up, then we will do that. Then it's about finding the need and working with what it is that they require, because the scope is so big. So I mean, two people completely different. I look at things more holistically. So I like to look at, their environment, their headspace, their, whatever it is that's around what the government can offer. Let's look at that. So everything that we will talk about,
And again, I promise, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, let Talitha tell us about what the disabilities in New Zealand and how you live with those. But your story is fascinating, and you are a leader and you're inspiring. And I just need to hear your story, and everyone else does too. So as well as your job and your kids, which you raised on your own, I know you have a partner now, but you are a single mum and you're living with this disability. Terrifying, I would imagine. So as well as your job that you have now, you also, what is your company called that you started? Is it?
It's not a company. It's literally just a support group. I make no money from it. It's not anything that profits from anything. Anything that anybody that requires any support, I give to them. Right. I do fundraising. I will give whatever. If somebody donates me $2, that'll go directly into printing off more things to give to somebody who has a condition. I got some of these from China, so if anybody would find me, it would be alert Myasthenia Gravis. So it's just a note to say, hey, look, I have this condition, just be aware of that. So it's non-profit. I put money in, I've put everything, my whole life, my whole gumption into it. But I don't know. The more I see about disability, the more passionate I get about it. So and it's not about disability, it's about ability through adversity. So,
I was gonna ask you that, because I thought, I don't want to say the wrong word. Do you still say disability in New Zealand? Yeah, is that not right?
You do, but I hate the word.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah,
I don't like the word because it's so limiting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for saying disability. I should have asked you that.
I don't even. I don't know. I mean, there's challenge. Able, I don't know what is something that fits, but I have a disability, but I don't let it disable me as a person. it makes me stronger. It's actually really funny because my weakness makes me stronger. And so I mean, the definition of a disability in itself is includes anything that's long-term mental, intellectual, sensory, in which in interaction with various barriers may hinder the full and effective participation in society. I mean, this is like the Dr. Google transcript, which allows for equality of somebody with the same age, the same standing, who doesn't have that limitation in society, and then it would be on an equal basis with others. So then if you don't have that, then you're considered disabled. It's interesting though, because when people say disability, and especially when you see the parking permits and all that, it just says wheelchair. And it's like, well, if you don't have a wheelchair, you mustn't be disabled. That is like such one of those misinformation. It's incredible.
Yeah. It is, because when you think of disability, I mean, I'm talking completely ignorantly now, but this is what I think is when you think of disability, you think of people who can't walk, or they need a wheelchair, or they need help. But actually, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine like depression is a disability, isn't it? It's something that's stopping you from functioning in real life, like is causing you to not be able to function properly. And I never think about that. It's like you say, you always think of the wheelchair, or like, the person with no limbs or something. And you don't think of the wide range that it covers. And I agree. I don't think it's right that it should be disability, because looking at you're like, oh, it's like you're right up there, it's just like, no, ability, like, it's like, I know.
Find your ability.
Yes.
Find your ability.
Yes.
I mean, yes, okay, so you may not be able to walk, or you may not be able to do something. You may have things that limit you, but what is it that you can do?
Yes.
What is it that you do want to do? What is your passion? I mean, the world's your oyster, and you do have constraints to live in, or restraints to live in within that situation that your body allows you to. But you don't have to spend every minute of the day saying, woe is me, I can't do this one thing, so therefore everything else is not useful. It's like, there is a lot about anybody that can be useful. Everybody has such different talents. Did you know that 1 in 4 people in New Zealand have a disability?
Well, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. 1 in 4.
1 in 4, and 35% of over 65s. So that's a lot of our society around.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, when you're sitting at your cafe and you're drinking your coffee, how many of those people have a disability?
Yes. Yeah.
That you don't see.
I know that. And again, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, because they're not sitting there with one leg, you think, you never know what's going on and what they're coping with and how they're coping with life. And such a good point.
But also, I mean, some people have a genetic predisposition for a condition, and mine isn't genetic, mine's not contagious, it's neurological. I mean, it happened, it just happened. But I mean, a lot of people don't actually realize that they may end up acquire something later on in life, or they may have a child with a condition because the two genetic mixes have mixed to create a child that now have the symptoms of something that has varied in the genetic pool. So it's you never know when these things will or should or could or will occur. You just don't. That's life.
Yeah. Okay, right. Before, I promise you, no, not yet. Before, I promise you, we're going to talk about how traveling around New Zealand on a plane with disability, we're going to talk about support networks. We're going to be talking about just the community and group about living in New Zealand with disability. But I want to say, because when I got chatting with you on the Zoom call that we had the other day, just to like introduce ourselves in person, when you were talking, I thought, okay, this woman is just, you've got all this fantastic information. But the thing that comes over to me about you, Talitha, is that you are the epitome of Kiwi kindness. And that is a huge, huge, interesting, just fascinating subject to me about how the people of New Zealand just give. And it's not just like, and I'm not saying, oh yeah, maybe one or two. As a nation, the New Zealanders are just, they're just giving. We've talked about it so many times, but you are just one notch above that. And you're just like, you are. And don't you snort like that, young lady. And
Sorry.
don't you try and pass me off. You are one notch above that. And I am, because you're not going to mention this because you're too humble. So before we jump into all the stuff about living in New Zealand, I want to say, I never knew that in 2015 you were shortlisted onto the New Zealander of the Year award in the local hero category. Why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you brag about that?
Years ago. No, it is something that I'm really proud of.
You should be.
I got to the top 10. I got in the top 10, which is it is one of my greatest achievements, I think. I feel incredibly proud of that, and that was for the work that I had done through MG&Z. And it was incredibly humbling to be able to be nominated for that. And I got nominated, and it just kept going through. And I was like, oh, I can't believe it. And it was incredible.
Because you said that you were so shocked because you were just doing exactly what you loved to do.
100%.
Which isn't that always the way? It's just like, oh yeah,
you go with your passion. You just go with your passion, and you never work at that point.
So, okay, yeah. That I just wanted people to know that because you never told me, and it was like, really, like, come on, this is incredible. And I knew the minute I met you that you're very, very special.
That thing.
Oh, what, New Zealand of the Year?
Doesn't everybody get that?
Oh, well, so well done, and thank you for everything that you're doing. And yes, right now, I promise I will jump in. So we have talked about the definition of a disability, haven't we?
Yes.
Let's talk about traveling around New Zealand with a disability, because we get lots of people coming over to New Zealand, either moving or on holiday, either with themselves, finding themselves less able, or with people traveling with people who are also struggling. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been around the world. I mean, as you know, because we communicated prior to me going, but I have been multiple times in and around New Zealand and outside of New Zealand. So I have travelled overseas. Now, one thing I would give a couple of points of recommendation for these, and that is always ask for assistance. So if you are going short distances or long distances, especially get it if you're going long distance. No question about that. When I go overseas, I always carry a medical certificate. I go to the doctor, and you will never really be asked for a medical certificate, but it is although the travel agent, when she was booking everything, because I had 16 flights that I was going to, because I went around. I did quite a large trip, and I needed bang, because some airports are quite small, and so you can walk. I can walk short distances. Sometimes I can't walk short distances, but when I'm well, I can walk short distances, but not long distances. And sometimes distances. Say if you've been to Singapore airport in between everywhere, there's long distances in between things, and you know, when you get off the plane and you have to walk up that rail, just that can make me, I can get to halfway up that and then stop walking. So I find that it can be, or actually I have to turn around and walk backwards because it uses a different muscle group.
Oh, okay.
and so, because then it doesn't use the front of your legs, it uses anyway, I walk in weird places, and you can walk sideways, you can walk up, you can walk anyway.
I'll be watching for you at that airport.
I know, right? I get assistance. So
so in New Zealand airports, is that readily available? So if you were flying from New Plymouth to, it's no problem. You can just call someone out. Okay.
You ask when you're booking if you can book, and there should be a little tick box down below, and it'll say, do you need assistance? Always put yes. If you decline it when you are there and you feel that you can manage, then just say to them, I'm okay, I don't need it, but then they know that it will be there, and then they will have a wheelchair for you at the other end, or they will have options for if you need a lift to go into the plane. The planes are getting better, I believe, with accessibility. So they just talk to the plane about your needs.
Okay.
So that's always necessary. Another thing that I found was, if you can upgrade, I would. So if you can fly premium, or if you can fly business, if you can take the opportunity to bid for a higher grade of flight, if you're doing long distances, then do so. It makes a massive difference. Okay. It is very, very worth it. So when I flew in, the difference between flying economy and even premium or business, you get that time to relax a little bit more. You get the time to recover and not squeeze into tiny little room. You know, in that tiny little seat, you get time to sleep more, and that can be life-changing, especially for someone like me who needs that. It was really funny, actually. I'll tell you a funny story. I was in one of the airports, I can't remember who it was, and I had a ticket, and it was one of those times that I went on, and I think for €100 I clicked on from premium to business, and it was massive upgrade, but anyway. And so I was able to go to the lounge, and by that stage I really needed to, and I was going along and I was getting pushed, and I said, I need to find the business lounge, and they said, I need to find that. I just said I needed to find the lounge, and they said, it's down there somewhere. Just keep going. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then I said, I don't know how far it is. I need to find the lounge. And I said, so how far roughly? And I just started asking more questions. They said, let me look at your ticket. So they took the ticket, they saw business, and it was like Jekyll and Hyde. They were like, oh, excuse me, ma'am, come with me. It's right here. And I was just like, that could have saved a whole lot of stress. But
yeah. And where was that?
I can't remember which airport it was.
Just somewhere, yeah.
I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was in America somewhere. But
there you go then.
No, it might have been Toronto. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't remember. I did a lot of flying at that point, so it is really. I did my research as well to know. Especially Christchurch Airport is bigger than you think it is. And I've got to a point where I thought, oh no, I'll be fine. and not take my scooter. And then by that stage, I had to walk down the path to go to the plane and then back up to the plane. And by that stage, my legs start off like that, but then they go like that, and
Right.
they end up sort of, and my husband almost had to sort of lift me to to get me onto the plane. It was like, well, next time we'll
Yeah.
take your scooter, shall we? Like, yep. That was a bit further than expected. So yeah, in that situation, I wouldn't recommend leaving it too much.
But in general, you find that the help for people in New Zealand is just,
Perfect.
it's great, is it? That's
Perfect.
Good. What about
Love it.
compared? I mean, I know this is a bit off topic, but compared to the rest of the world, what did you think?
I don't. I found that it was everywhere is pretty good.
Oh, that's
actually.
good. That's good.
Yeah, there wasn't a country that I didn't feel that it was particularly bad. Yeah, you do
That's
get on the
good.
plane first.
Yeah, I was
to wait.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you get like special treatment? Because you think that people would give you special treatment, like, like upgrade you for nothing, like, because it's like, okay.
No, they don't upgrade you for nothing.
No, it's not fair, that is it? They should.
No, it's not. You're not allowed to go in the aisle. You're not allowed to go in. You have to go in the aisle, and because you're a liability if you go next to the window, which I don't mind because and then you can't go in the exit aisle either. So that's where all the leg room is.
Yeah, that's messy. Yeah.
So they won't put you there because then you're a liability. So.
And what about oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, so always calculate and make sure that somebody tells you, is it going to be 5 meter walk or is it going to be 500-meter walk?
Yes.
Those are the things that you just drill them for a little bit more information when you are there to see whether you can cope or whether you can't cope. But another thing is always put your condition on your travel insurance. It doesn't matter whether it is a mole or I don't know what it is. Like if it is something that is health related, always declare it. It is so worth it to do that. They do want to know. They want to know for a reason. If you don't declare it, something happens, then it's on you. Really. But insurance will go out of their way to help you if you can. But around New Zealand, ask. There's another thing around not only flying but around New Zealand, depending what your level of need is. There is a Facebook page which I go on, which I think is incredibly good, and that is the Accessible Travel Forum. It's a Facebook page. I stumbled across it not long ago, and I love reading it because people give real good reviews.
Oh, that's great.
And it's
send me the link for that and I'll put it in the description. Yeah,
it's review after review of all the different areas. People say, what about this and what about that? And you can look at photos online about things. People will say this is said to be accessible, but it's not. And another thing that I like doing is Google stalking. So I go onto the Google Maps and I see for myself what is considered accessible and what's not considered accessible. Another idea is to ring them beforehand if you're going anywhere, even if you ring the information centre, if you're going to somewhere generic and say, can you please tell me is anywhere that is specifically accessible, where would you recommend I go? Sometimes they will say something's accessible but it's not hugely accessible. The scope of accessibility is massive though, so it is about doing your research about where you're going. And I always find just ask people. Ask people within the communities, from your support networks, from people in the area, and just say, hey, look, this is where I'm going to go. Now I have a little bit of an interesting plan that, you know how I said that I'm really, really into this whole disability advocacy and disability. Yes. I love travel. Okay, so my husband and I, we have a camper and we love to go to dock, and ours is fully like, you know, enclosed and everything. So, but we like doing, but it's not accessible. So we are in the process of designing, and well, we have bought a van that is fully accessible to turn into a fully accessible camper for people that we know or that can hire it, or that we don't know how this is going to work yet, but we that do have a disability that want to go just to the beach for a night, and it will be set up for a power chair.
What a brilliant idea. What a brilliant idea. There's no stopping you.
I know, it's great.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great idea, that. Really good.
So that's something that we
watch this space.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So
can I just ask you what, because someone asked on our community about the cost of, you know, like healthcare with living with a disability in New Zealand, like assuming they're residents, like, you know, because obviously if you're coming overseas and that's all a different story, but if you're just here on holiday, but say if you're a resident, what is it all funded by you know, regular healthcare, or do you need private health insurance? It is.
No,
right.
It's on the government, and for the important things, it is really it is funded, and if you do have private medical insurance, sometimes they recommend you actually jump to public health care, just because it's going to be cheaper in the long run. Really. Sometimes if you have to have major operations, and they're not gonna put you in a position where your life is in jeopardy. So, you know, if you need to go to A&E, you go to A&E. And a lot of times, I mean, I've been in hospital basically more times than most people have had hot dinners. And it's, you know, and spent a lot of time in hospitals. And you can do a TripAdvisor on different hospitals around the country too. And it's like, their menu has changed. And, you know, so it's, I digress.
So it's covered by public health.
It is covered by public health, yes. And I will talk to you a little bit about the funding of that as well in a couple of minutes. So
go on then. Go on. Tell us about the funding.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about the funding. So what I'll say first is about if you are coming into New Zealand and you have a disability and you are here, and you know you're setting your life up, and which is perfect, and or if you are here for a time and something happens and you acquire a disability, not necessarily an accident, you know, that you will recover from, but something that you won't recover from, and something that happens, whether it's genetically based or whether it's a predisposition or any of what I said prior about the definition of what a disability is. There are it's really interesting. It is really important to some tips and tricks of being in New Zealand. Go and access your social services. Go and find out who and what is in your town around the social services. There's a lot of drop-in centres that will offer you sort of maybe social workers or people that you can go to that can give you advice on where to go and what to do within your town. It is really important to book into your doctors early. Go and find a doctor who has space, book in early, go and do an introductory appointment, and just say, this is who I am and this is what I require, and this is, you know, not saying, oh, this is what I want and this is what I want now, but no, just to say, hey, look, this is who I am, and this is, and some doctors, if they're really good enough, if it's really a rare condition, they'll go, oh, I don't really know much about that, but it also gives them time to learn about that as well. So it gives them time to go away. So when you come back and you're actually not well, then they've had that time to do their own research about that, and also to get maybe a referral to a specialist, so you can do the same thing with specialists. If you are requiring any equipment of anything, then they will give you a referral to an OT, which is an occupational therapist. Or if you need ongoing physio, they will give you a referral to a physiotherapist. There are lots of social networks around the country, depending on what your condition is. So there's just to name a fraction, there's like the Rare Disorders New Zealand, so that covers a lot of different things. Of course, there's the Muscular Dystrophy Association, which covers 70 conditions. And you've got MG&Z, of course, and then you
That's
get
the best
me.
one. Yeah.
There is the things like the Blind and Low Vision, the Diabetes New Zealand, the MS Society, Stroke Foundation, Arthritis New Zealand. There's deaf clubs. There's clubs. There's a whole lot of different things around. There's also Workbridge. Now, Workbridge is a pathway into the workforce with a disability. Now, they provide two things. So they can find you a job that will be adapted to your disability, and have already spoken to employers that are willing to take on somebody with an impairment or something, but the job is there, and they are saying, yeah, it's not going to make a difference, it's all good, bring it all in. Or alternatively, if you do have a disability and you do have a job, they can give you assistance, they can provide a funding and assistance for you to maintain your job. So
that's great. I was going to ask about working in New Zealand with disability. I wanted to know if there was any like prejudice, or that they had to follow certain procedures, and so that's really, really great to know that. So these people help you find that job and adapt to that job. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing, Talitha, before I move on, I just want to, because it's in my mind. So if you, going back to the healthcare and the cost, say I was living in New Zealand and I had a child that needed a breathing apparatus thing, that you needed, and you went to the doctors and they're like, okay, yes, this child needs physiotherapy and she needs a breathing thing. Is all that free, or do you pay for that?
There are certain aspects and certain things that are free. It depends what it is. There may be a cost in relating to mask replacement, but that can all be funded under different aspects. But yes and no. So I'll say, just to keep it generic, I'll say some things do and some things don't. However, that I'll talk to you about the funding a little bit more now, but I'll just say one thing before I jump onto the funding side of it. If you require like a medical alert button, something that you have to press, this is not a medical alert button, this is just but a lot of people have it around their neck, and then if you go into a problem, then you press the button. But if it's actually really important that if you've moved to a town, then to give if you go to the fire service or something, or the fire service, or if you need an ambulance, or if you need anything like that, it's sometimes quite interesting, or it's actually quite important, and a lot of people don't actually think about this, to register the house, say with the fire department, and to say, I have a disability, I've only got one exit out of the thing, this is what my disability is. So if there is a fire in your house and they are called immediately, it'll come up with, this person has a ramp, this person has this, we're looking for somebody in a wheelchair, be prepared for this. Also, that another aspect of that is if you have a CPAP machine, or if you need ongoing oxygen, or you're on a cough assist machine, let them know about that as well, because let the power companies know about that as well. And then they will have that on record, that if you need constant power.
Yeah, that's a really good tip.
I'm not going to say any much more about that at this point in time, but that is always good to register your place and your health needs with your emergency services.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it's true, isn't it? Like, and I didn't think about that with the power as well, because like you say, you have a power cut and you're on something that requires to help you breathe. That's a really
so
good tip.
the emergency services could be aware of that. And also, like, there's a book that you can get from CCS Disability, I think, where to say I think it's what they put out initially, and it's called a health passport. It's a book, and it is basically all of your medical information in one place that you have written in to say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what's going to be effective, this is not effective for me. And it's a personalized version of your disability, and it's really, really, it's a quick look that anybody who is in the medical field that may be helping you at that particular time, they will be able to see just a quick, brief version of what they need to know at the time. Also, another thing, if you're telling the emergency services what your medical situation is, it's also important to tell them where the spare key is, because if they know that there is somebody in there with a medical issue, they may not be able to access the front door. A lot of services will kick your door in just to get you out.
Right.
But if they have access to if they know where the spare key is, then they'll use that.
Yeah, it's a bit easier, isn't it?
it'll cost you less in door hinges. Yeah. So, I mean, just a couple of tips and tricks.
That's brilliant.
When you're coming into a new town, when you're coming into New Zealand, it's okay to let this, to tell them about that.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you don't have to tell them your whole life story. Just say,
where the key is. Yeah,
where the key is. Yeah. I'm in a wheelchair. I may not be able to jump up and you know and do this, or I have a medical condition. Please don't rush at me, or don't, Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. Now, we have, in New Zealand, we have, our government has changed, is in the process from last year to change for a disability sector within our government. So exciting. You may have heard the word whaikaha briefed around on the news occasionally.
Yes, yeah.
And so that is the change of the disability sector coming in. Until it has established fully, which, I mean, with anything in this life, you have to allow time to do that. So, but it is an incredible advancement, which is incredibly exciting for anybody in the disability sector. But they will be going under the Enabling Good Lives, so the EGL principles, which is, in a nutshell, allowing the person with the disability to have more say of what they need and how their life would be a good life.
Right.
Because under old systems, there's a lot of people who will get given maybe something that they'll be eligible for something, and then they'll say, okay, so I'll have home help, but they may not want it as much, or it may not be as useful as what somebody else thinks that it would be. So if somebody looks at them and says, okay, so what is it that I think, so if I'm sitting here and I say, I think you need 3 cups of coffee, and I think that you need I think you need a sandwich right now. And you say, but I've had 12 cups of coffee today and I don't eat bread. And I say, no, but that's what I'm going to give you. So how much use would that be? So it's a little bit like that. So now it's the opportunity. So the enabling good lives is the switch around that to say, what do you need?
They tell you what they need rather than the other way around.
Yeah, and it's a conversation. It allows the conversation to start,
yes,
and it gives more of the voice to the person requiring or what they need from that service. So, in saying that, the Enabling Good Lives is functioning in already in Waikato, in Christchurch, and in the Mid-Central region.
Oh,
And
that's fantastic.
I've been under that system, and I know it works, and I love it. So under other areas within the New Zealand, look under the NASC system and see what you can get and what is in your area, and that is the needs assessment and service coordination. So someone will come into you, have a conversation about what you need. Of course, everything is changing, so they're looking more at the holistic way in the Enabling Good Lives in the sector. So that is where your government funding comes in, and then they will apply to the Ministry of Health and see what you can get. There is also don't ever forget work and income. If you aren't working or you need to go on a benefit, or if you have a child with a disability, then you can apply for a child disability allowance, and that's not income tested, and so that is extra money that can help. And also, if you are working and you're under a certain level of income, they're there to help you top up your. There are benefits and extra things, even if you are working, to be able to help with that, and including things like a disability allowance that can help with doctor's visits and and payment for prescriptions and bits and pieces. And I mean, of course, there's lots of benefits that are tailored specifically for people with a disability as well. So it's not the be all and end all. I mean, you're never going to make a lot of money when you're doing these things, on benefits or whatever. So working is always a primary option.
And you'll send me all the links, and I'll put all those links in the description about these, like you say, the companies to contact and to look out for and things like that. I'll put all those in the description so people have got them, because it's a lot to remember, isn't it?
It is a lot to remember. Yeah.
But it's a really positive. It's really great, because you just think, how would you cope? How would you top up your income? How would you do those things? So it's good to know that New Zealand is providing people with that.
Yeah, it is. There's something else as well. Like when you go into a new community, it can take ages to integrate into that community. So, I mean, my recommendation would be to not be afraid of stepping outside your door and going and maybe joining the Lions or the Rotary, or attending and volunteering at your schooling events. And I find something that I find is that New Zealand is really based on volunteers. Most of the work that is undertaken in New Zealand is volunteer based. And if you don't get an answer about where to access any of something that could be personal for you that you may need assistance with, or not just assistance but information about a certain aspect, don't be afraid to keep asking. Like one person, if somebody comes back to you and says, I don't know, then don't think that nobody else knows, because you keep asking, someone will know.
Eventually.
It's a good way to meet people too. Starts a conversation.
And it's a really good tip, because I would imagine it would be easy to just become isolated and just think, oh no, I'll just stay in, because even without having a disability, it's hard to go out of your door and join these clubs and things like that, isn't it? It's not easy. But like you say, it's good to know that there are these things around New Zealand that you can join and just feel part of the community and have that support around you, and just to ask those questions, get all that information that you need is a great tip.
And you never know. I mean, there might be something sitting in someone's shed that you might need in the interim while looking for it, while waiting for an appointment for an occupational therapy to come and do an assessment or something. And somebody might have a piece of equipment or something that you can borrow, or you can have that they're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. Let's just take that. It's like, okay.
It's the Kiwi way, isn't it? It really is.
Make do. Let's just get in there.
Yeah. So have I asked you all the right questions? Is there anything else that you want to share about living in New Zealand? I don't want to keep saying with disability now because I'm really paranoid about it, but just
no, don't be paranoid. I think it's very much a personal. I mean, there isn't too many other words. I mean, it's like able.
I like that name that you said the government are bringing in. What was it? That
Kaha.
No, the other what you just said about the new government was they've got a scheme and it's called
the Enabling Good Lives.
Yes, I love that. Now that's nice. That is really nice. Yeah.
And it really does enable people to live a good life.
Yes.
And I'm living proof of that. I would like to say, I mean, I have accessed everything I could possibly access, but I haven't thrown it away. I've utilized it, and I've made it work for me. And I would have never imagined 20 years ago, when I was raising my children like I was, that it would be that how much New Zealand has come along in disability support. And people don't look at you, I find, because I mean, of course I say that I've used a scooter, and I do use a scooter occasionally when I need it, but when I find people to be incredibly polite, and they will open doors for you, and they'll see you coming along, and they'll see that there's I'll tell you a funny story. I was off doing the where was it? I was off doing shopping, and I came along and I was having such a bad day, and I was taking my groceries out of the back of my out of the trolley, and then putting it into my car. But by this stage, I'd already been out of the car, taken all the things, taken it out of the trolley, put it on the belt, been through, done it all. And so my energy had drained anyway. And I was having a really bad day, and I was coming along. I was like, anyway. And then this little old man, and with a little walking stick, and he goes, "Do you need a hand, dear?" He goes, "Oh. You look really bad." And he goes, Do you want a hand? Do you want me to do that for you?" And I was like, "Yes, please."
Oh, yes. Oh.
And it was just that moment of kindness that made a difference for me, because I was able to just let him put my stuff in my car, and I was able to sit in my car and just stop for a minute. And I just sat there until I was able to get enough energy, enough to go through my next day of just driving home and putting the frozens away, and that was it. And then the rest, or getting somebody else to help me with everything else. And it's those moments of kindness that make a difference. But in saying that, always ask. Never assume that just because somebody is struggling that they need or want your help. So there's some definite no-nos.
That's a good point. That's a good point, is just ask, "Oh, would you like any help with that?" Oh, what a lovely old man. That's lovely. That's so nice. It's nice to know that there's still gentlemen in the world, and just like, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Me too.
So before I let you go, I mean, like I say, you're incredible. You are the epitome of New Zealand, just a true Kiwi. You've got a very get up, let's get on with this, let's make this positive, let's help others. Everything that is good about Kiwis, you are. If on a personal note, what would you say to someone who has suddenly been diagnosed with an illness that's such as yourself when you were 18? What would you say to them if they just thought, oh, that's it, it's like, everything's going to be hard, everything's going to be difficult? Is there anything you would just like to pass on?
Simplify now. Just, okay, absorb, learn, simplify, and then build on that. Look at what you can do, not what you can't do, and educate the people around you. Create a system and an environment around you to enable your life to happen, not your disability to take over. So your whole life is not about that disability, but it may be for a while. But don't hold it in. It will be an emotional journey. I know that when I have an occasional, the occasional relapse, and my body never recovers, however, to the next level. And so I go through that grieving process again, and just know that's normal, and simplify. And then when you have found your level of when you've found your level again, when you've found all the turmoil of trying to get your head around it, build a little bit, one step at a time, and create your life. Don't ever think that your life is over. Don't think that you can't do things, because you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah,
you really don't. You haven't met that part of yourself yet. The part of yourself that goes, okay, so this is what I've got, but who can I become with that? Or how can I not let that take over, but how can I let it become the springboard for who I am now? And make it a better, make yourself better. Better in mind, I think, helps, even if it doesn't help in your body. I mean, better in mind, body, they do say that is linked, but sometimes that doesn't work. But I think the better your mind is, the more you can cope with the day-to-day.
I just love what you say about look forward to the person you can become. After you've done that grieving, and just look. Oh, I love that. That's such good advice. That's so mindful. So just so you, Talitha. Yeah, really lovely.
Yeah, I would have never thought that I would be so happy. I'm incredibly happy and incredibly grateful. I mean, don't get me wrong, my whole life isn't like springs and flowers and roses with butterflies all day. It's not like that. I mean, but it is about my perception. It's about, okay, so I'm not going to give up here, because my legs don't work, my arms don't work, I feel like I need to go to sleep, and yes, I do may need to sleep a lot more than other people, or I do need to stop, and I can't cope with a lot of extra things. But that doesn't mean that I don't value my life or my day or the people in my life. I think I value people more. So
Oh, thank you so much. And on that note of being tired, because I'm sure I've kept you far longer than I should, because I was like, oh yeah, it'll only take 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'm like bombarding you with all these questions.
No, I love it.
So I would just like to say thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wonderful optimism, your knowledge, your energy is just beautiful. You make me proud to be a Kiwi. You really do. And I am just honored to know you. So I just say thank you so much, Talitha, and we'll catch up with you again sometime in the future.
We will indeed. Thank you so much, Liz.
Okay, darling. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. We have loved having you here with us.
If you loved this week's show, please share this with your friends. Send it to anybody you know that wants to think about moving to New Zealand, and get on over here yourself.
And tell them how brilliant it is as well. And also, if you haven't signed up for our free 5-day video guide showing you what life is like, really like, in New Zealand, then go over to the website and sign up. You are missing out. This is brilliant. Go over to www.nzahead/free and we will send you 5 days worth of videos about what life is like in New Zealand. You are going to love it. So one more time, that website that you need to sign up for the free 5-day guide is www.nzahead/free. So we're going to see you next week. Until then, have a great week and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye again. Bye.
Bye.